It's December the 8th, and today is the last day of my series of events and explorations around knowledge exchange violin in the USA. And I'm in Minneapolis, which I will leave in a few hours. As a lot of you will know, every time I'm in Minneapolis, I come to this very special place for all violinists. This is the sculpture of Ole Bull, erected in 1896 here in Loring Park by the sculptor Jakob Fjelde. This was put up quite a long time before the Sinding sculpture of Ole Bull as a young man was erected in Bergen. And when you go around the back of the sculpture, you'll see that it was erected by the Norwegian Association of America. It's got a lot in common with other memorials for Bull in Norway. And the most obvious thing, which I only really noticed today, is the way it looks. The sun, it's the morning, so the sun is over there, and Bull was erected looking westwards, towards not only to the setting sun, but towards the direction of adventure. When the sculpture was erected here in the park, there would have been a wonderful view west along there, but now there's a rather horrific 1980s building obscuring his view and a dog park beneath me. If you go to Bergen and to the graveyard just outside the old city wall, or the gate at the old city wall, you'll find the urn which marks Bull's final resting place, and that too looks west. And I suspect that was an issue and was in the mind of the Bull family when this sculpture was erected. The sculpture is fantastically optimistic. It shows Bull as people knew him, not as Grieg noted about the sculpture in Bergen, as nobody alive had known him at the turn of the 20th century when that was put up, because that sculpture depicts him as a young man and in many ways doesn't look anything like him, whereas this one certainly does. He's not playing his Gaspard solo violin. This is a violin which is clearly Cremonese. It might even be the Amati violin. But there's a little bit of a mystery, perhaps even a scandal, which I discovered around the markings on the sculpture. I'll need to walk you around to the other side to show you.
So if I bring the camera close to the base of the sculpture, just here, you'll see there is music engraved. The snow is obscuring it somewhat, but I could sing da da dee da da dee da 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 da.
So the reason I wanted to show you that bit of music, which anybody Norwegian would instantly recognize, even with my bad singing, is Set Igjen en Sunday, the Herdgirl Sunday, the most important and the most famous bit of music which Bull ever wrote. Now that's usually played in D major. In fact, of all of Bull's surviving versions, it's in D major. But here it's in F major, with a B flat in the signature. And there's a reason for this. If you'd been at the opening or the unveiling of the sculpture in 1896, there you would have found Bull's son, Alexander, and his young wife, Sarah Thorpe, much, much younger than him, and her parents from Madison. And it was Alexander who played at the unveiling of the sculpture. He was a violinist and seems to have been most involved with the commissioning of the piece from Jakob Fjelde. I think he probably advised on the posture, because Fjelde never met Bull. So why is it in F major? Well, when my wife Melina and I were working with a pile of Bull correspondence in his house in Bergen, in Norway, in Lusund, we found a letter in French from Bull to his first wife, Félicie, Alexander's mother. And the letter said, "Here are our notes." It was a depiction of a musical stave, and on the stave were F, Fjelde C, as it said, and B flat in the German notation, Bull. So go back to the sculpture, and there you have it. There's a B flat in the key signature, there is Bull, and it's in F major, Fjelde C. Once a musician sees and hears this, they can't unhear it. And I think that it's not impossible that Alexander organised this as a way of memorialising his mother, who of course never visited the US, and marked a bit of Bull's life which was, in many ways, sloughed off, forgotten, when his life after the death of Fjelde, who died in her early 40s, was in many ways forgotten. So I wonder if Sarah ever noticed. In some ways, I hope she didn't. But it's rather amusing and a little disturbing to find it here on this enormous and wonderful sculpture, a possible riposte from the stepson to his stepmother, who was younger than he was, of course.